Hello, everyone. So today I'm going to just be talking about how we set up experiment tracking in Kedro-Viz. Just as a quick definition, it is how we save all the metadata related to our experiments. Kedro-Viz comes with a native experiment tracking inbuilt, and with that, you can compare different runs to identify the best performing experiment. Now, to set up experiment tracking in Kedro, you basically have 3 steps. You need to set up your session store to capture the experiment metadata. Secondly, you need to set up your experiment tracking datasets to list the metrics to track. And thirdly, you need to modify your nodes and your pipelines to output those metrics. And finally, you just click Kedro Run. And if it runs very well, you can access and compare different runs in Kedro-Viz. So let's get started. I'll be sharing my VS Code now. First, we'll start with the first step, which is to set up our session store. Okay, so we do that by going to the settings.py. So we go to space flights. Okay, so you can get the code from our documentation for experiment tracking. And yep, that is done. Okay, so just a quick explanation. So this also specifies the creation of the SQLite store and the data subfolder. Okay, now that that's done, the next step is to put the tracking datasets. Now, like I just to quickly mention, there are 2 types of experiment tracking datasets for Kedro. One is the metrics dataset, and the other one is the JSON dataset. The first one is for all things numerical, and then the second one is for everything else. So again, we'll go to the catalog.yaml to register the datasets. So there it is. We can come to the bottom. Okay, I've registered both the metrics dataset and the JSON dataset. Okay. So now that we've set up the tracking datasets to log our experiment, now we need to ensure that the data is returned from the node. So we go back to our data science node.py. Okay. Then we'll go to the evaluate model. And then we can easily just get the required code from the docs. Just edit the logger. ME logger returns. Yeah, that seems fine. Okay, now we need to specify this as an output of our node. So again, we'll go to pipeline.py file. Output is metrics. Where's the evaluate model? No, it's not none, it's metrics. Okay, so now that we've done that, being where we go to the data, we go to the data preprocessing, go to node.py, and we want to modify this so that it returns the output. So instead of returns companies, it has the specific columns. Now that that's done, we need to ensure that this output is registered in the pipeline.py file for this node. So we go to the pipeline.py under data processing. And reprocess companies. We need to add companies column here. I'll just copy from the docs. Now that should be all done. And we can test it out by doing Kedro-Run. Now, if everything works as it should, once the run is complete, on the data, we should have a new tracking file. Oh, I need to kill this running. And Kedro-Run. Okay, it's running. Yeah, it's running. Completed. So while that is running, we go to the data folder. Now we have tracking. So we have an error here, name mean absolute error is not defined. So we're going to solve that by making sure it's imported. So we go to from sklearn. Okay, so that should work. Then we do Kedro-Run again. Oh, good. So while this completes, we can see that we have the data 09 tracking, and it has both the company's column. You can also see there's a session store.db, which we generated after our first pipeline run. This stores all the run metadata, which we'll use for experiment tracking. Pipeline execution complete. Very nice. Okay, so yeah, so we have both the company's column.json and the metrics. Metrics are JSON. Okay, good. And now we can visualize experiment tracking in Kedro-Viz. So it opens all over again. Now to access experiment tracking in Kedro-Viz, we'll come to this button, experiment tracking button. And now that we have it open, we can see the UI in Kedro-Viz for experiment tracking. Now this is a runs list. These are the different runs. So each time we do a Kedro-Run, it creates a run here with the timestamp of when it was created. And this just gives you this middle panel, gives you the option to hide the menu, to bookmark a particular run, to edit the details for the run, and to export the run data. Now, it's interesting to note there are three key tabs: the overview, the metrics, and the plots. Now, the default tab is the overview, which just shows for each run, it shows the details for each run. So this was a run, this was when it was created, this is the command, and then you have the options that add notes here. And the metrics plot, which is the main one we'll come to, shows the time series and parallels, which are different ways to compare different metrics. The time series gives you the option to compare one metric per plot, and the parallel coordinates compare multiple metrics. And then you have the plots tab, which for each run, you can see the plots and compare them. Now, and that is it. To conclude today, we've looked at experiment tracking in Kedro-Viz. We started off using the Kedro Spaceflight starter, and We went through all the steps to set up experiment tracking, such as setting up your session store, setting up your experiment tracking data set, modifying your nodes and pipelines to log metrics, and finally generating your own data with Kedro-Run and visualizing and comparing these metrics within the Kedro-Viz UI. And hope this has been useful, and good luck with experiment tracking in Kedro-Viz. Bye for now.